Martin made to you about, well, for instance, I killed my wife, that should say a lot?
No, I did not.
Did Martin, in fact, say that to you?
He did.
A former inmate who did time with Dr. Martin McNeill is offering some pretty damaging testimony in the case against him. That inmate testified that the doctor told him he was getting away with murdering his wife, and he was glad that she was dead. Now, the prosecution is close to resting its case, and joining us this afternoon with legal analysis is criminal defense attorney Greg Skordas. Thank you so much for joining us. So here we have more testimony from a former inmate. What do you make of this?
This one was a little more forthcoming in terms of what McNeill allegedly said than the other three. As you recall, the other three inmates who were with him in the federal penitentiary claimed that he just talked about his ex-wife as a bad person and made some derogatory comments. This inmate who was with him in the Utah County Jail claims that Martin actually confessed to killing her and said, in fact, I got away with murder, or I'm getting away with murder.
And I have to ask how credible a testimony like that is coming from a former inmate, you know, a convicted felon.
And I think the defense did a good job of portraying him as a person who's really got something to gain, who's not only getting something for his testimony here, but is sort of working toward trying to get something for his testimony on other cases and other crimes that he supposedly knows something about.
And something interesting, of course, that happened today during the trial was a laptop that was left open, began to play some news reports.
Right.
And you could hear it in the background. We played that piece of video actually earlier on Live at 4, but you could hear the judge yelling, saying, shut that down, to try to drown out the noise. And then the defense wanted to
have a mistrial, right? Which they were required to ask for. What happened was, jurors are always told from the beginning of a trial, don't watch the news, don't read any newspaper, don't watch the news, don't take into account anything except what you're hearing in this courtroom and that these prosecutors and defense attorneys are presenting.
Do you think they heard something?
Well, they heard something, but this judge is pretty smart, and what he did was he started talking quite loudly over it, so that I think it distracted the jury, and they probably didn't hear anything. And I think that he's reviewing what was played and probably decided that nothing was heard that they haven't either heard before or that they really didn't make much out of.
So do you think the judge made the right decision then?
Yes,
although
I think he probably did.
The defense's opportunity there, of course.
Right. It's an appeal issue, absolutely.
Do you think that they could move forward and try to appeal that decision, or
well,
depending on the outcome?
If their client is convicted, they are going to raise everything they can on appeal, and that was certainly a motion. Once you make a motion for mistrial, you've preserved that. It's an appeal issue. You can raise it down the road if you want.
So that's smart on the defense's side.
Absolutely. I don't think they had a choice.
Well, so we're expecting to see Gypsy Willis. We thought that she was going to take the stand today. Of course, things took a little longer than they were supposed to. You know, not a perfect world when it comes to court proceedings. So McNeil's mistress expected to be brought back, and we were talking about this yesterday, and how this is going to get interesting because this isn't typical.
No, it's not. The state had their shot with her. They put her on the stand. She was sort of ruled as a hostile witness, and they were allowed to do more like a cross-examination of her. The defense had full range of cross-examination questions of their own. So something has happened since she testified that's compelled the state to say, wait a minute, there's something more here. She either has called them and said, hey, I forgot something, or I've remembered something, but she, for some reason, has some testimony that she's going to present tomorrow that she hasn't presented yet.
Important enough that it would help the prosecution's case, you think?
Absolutely. They must think it helps them, or they wouldn't be calling her.
And I wanted to mention that, you know, you look at all the people that the prosecution has called to the stand, of course. McNeil's 3 daughters, his 2 mistresses, several inmates now, medical experts. I mean, this has been weeks long now.
Investigators, police, right.
Right. And then the defense says, we are only going to be calling 3 witnesses to defend our case. What do you make of that? I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot.
Kind of 2 things. One, from the beginning, the defense has said the state doesn't have a case. They're going to present a lot of evidence that shows our client is a bad person, but not enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to the unanimous satisfaction of 8 jurors that he committed a homicide. And second, they're putting on evidence of what they've called alibi to show that he was not present or couldn't have been present when she died.
So do you think that they think this is a slam dunk case for them?
I think that they're saying it's the state's case. You have to prove it. We don't have to prove anything. That's what a defense does in a case like this.
Is that dangerous, though, to proceed with it in that regards?
It's risky, but I don't know that they have any choice, because how are they going to prove he didn't do something? In a case like this, that's difficult. So alibi is the best shot, and then they've got a ergonomics expert who's going to testify that it would have been difficult or impossible for him to get her out of the bathtub, as the state's argued he should have or could have done.
Well, it should be fascinating. Greg, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, thanks. We're going to have more on the inmate's testimony that we were just talking about against Dr. Martin McNeill on Fox 13's Live at 5. And don't forget, you can watch the McNeill murder trial live on our website, fox13now.com.